Welcome back to Next Level Rides. In today's episode, we're going to be digging out my Subaru WRX. Now this WRX, it's a 2002 WRX with a built 2.5 liter motor, 2 liter heads, all the bells and whistles, JDM 6-speed, plus. So I'll go over the modifications more in detail once we get it sorted. But for now, what we're going to do is with a handful of tools and a trusty X5, we're going to get this thing to the point where I can pull it out of the garage and bring it home. Now the biggest thing with this is that it has sat for 4 years, so it is a little bit suspect that the fuel might be bad. So first and foremost, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a whiff. Yeah, it's definitely starting to go bad. So what we're gonna have to do is drain the fuel tank. First things first, let's see what the fuel tank's at. I don't know if with the low light you can see it's almost a full tank of fuel. Awesome. So with a full tank of fuel, what I would normally do is find the return line for the fuel rail and put it in a bucket and just jumper the relay. But I don't think we're gonna be able to do that because I remember the fuel lines, there was something different about them, and I think they're buried. Now, bear with me, the lighting is a little bit lousy here. So there's the factory pulsation dampener here. So if I remember, that goes to the link ethanol sensor, to the regulator, and then to the rails. So for here, yeah, you can see if it was this one for the return, we could simply just loosen off the Phillips here, put it into a bucket, or this side, since it's barbed, put a hose on it, and then set the jerry can right here. But we're not going to be that fortunate because the feed line is underneath. So that's not going to work. So what we would have to do is we would have to disconnect it here at the fuel filter. And because this is the feed line, I don't want any garbage and stale fuel that's in the tank now to go up, plug the filter, and into the injectors. That's a big no-no. So what we're trying to do is drain it before it gets to the injectors, before the fuel filter, so that we can put that all into, again, a jerry can, and put fresh fuel to the injectors on the first prime, first crank, and first start. So I want to eliminate that all because the fuel is bad. So what that means is I'm gonna have to get crafty and figure out what I'm gonna do here. Now, I did take the rear seats out, so the rear seats are sitting right there because I wanted to access the back here. So the fuel pump's under there, and I did wire it to a solid state relay, and this one line here goes to the factory controller. Now my thought process is that's the factory controller, this is ground, and there's two here. So if you look close, one's a positive, one's a negative. Now, process of elimination, if the blue wire is there and also up there, that's a switched ground. This one here being a black wire, it does look like the black wire goes to the pump and the orange up through here to the fuse to there. The tricky part is this is positive, this is also positive, that's negative. So I need to figure out positive and negative on the pump before putting voltage to it. But my thought process is, if I take off this cap here, or the lid, whatever it is, I should have access to the factory fuel lines, and maybe I can pull one of the lines off, whichever one is evidently the feed line, put a hose there and then into a jerry can. Now, my friend Mirko helped me wire this up. I believe this is the negative, so I believe we're switching negative for grounding the system, but I don't quite get it. Maybe I'll have to Google it before I set the car on fire. So what I'll do is I'll get the top hat off. I'm gonna see what I'm working with, see if this is even plausible. Worst case, I'm gonna have to come back and build some sort of an extension from the AN line for a jerry can, and then jumper something here. Oh, what a mess this car is. Ironically, that was the trunk. Actually, the lighting's better. When I bought this car, I think it was late 2007, it was mint with 160K, and now I think it has somewhere around, believe it or not, on the chassis, 400. So it's being used and abused. The car itself has gone through a few motors. It had the original EJ 205, and I think I got that up to 330 or 340,000 kilometers before I went through a handful of shit experience with shops when they were doing the timing belt, and lo and behold, they ended up screwing it up real good. So I then had to build a 2.5 and then a second 2.6. So technically, this is a 2.6 liter. All right, so I see it's zip tied. There's two fuel lines here and what looks like evap. I'm gonna have to Google to see which one is which. It looks like it's just the 5/16 hose that I do have. So if I can pull one off, I can at least put what I have into a bucket. All right, plan of attack. I ended up getting a little light. That's gonna help you guys see things, maybe, sort of. This line here with the pulsation dampener, I confirmed with a buddy of mine that he's not concerned with anything that might be in the fuel tank, considering it's just fuel. So there's no real concern for contaminants. So what we're gonna do, this being the return line, we're gonna take the Phillips fuel band thing off of it. We're gonna put a 5/16 hose onto this. It's gonna go up and over into a can. So I'm gonna get this rigged up and see if it works. We have the fuel line from our good old diesel runaway video. If you haven't watched that video, we're gonna put a link somewhere up and around here. It's definitely good to see my misery and pain. I'm hoping that this isn't gonna fight me because I didn't bring my pick to break the seal. Just kidding, brought my pick. Please, no fuel. Okay, I dropped something somewhere. I don't know where it went. All right, again, pulsation dampener. This should be a 5/16. So we've got this hose here. Oh, thank God. It's the right one. But I do know this fuel line isn't going to, this band isn't going to fit, so I did bring up. Holy f. Stop making noises. I can start to smell the fuel. It does smell a little varnishy. Okay, that should be all that we need. I put an inline filter, more so I just left the inline filter. So I'd be curious to see if it siphons anything or any junk out of the tank. My biggest concern is that this hose is going to get decent pressure and throw it. So I'm going to try and put the hose into the bottom of the tank, and I'm going to try and leave it like this. So what I have going on here is there's this base plate where a battery would sit, and I did reroute the power to the battery and the battery to the trunk. This would be the negative terminal. So as we've deducted, there's the orange and black here for the fuel and the fuel pump. So what I'm thinking is, because I brought a battery this second go, is I can put the battery in here, I'll put the positive on it, and then realistically I should just take this wire, put it directly to the negative, and it should actually cycle the fuel pump. But you never know, you're working with fuel in an old car, could cause a fire, could be fireworks. Ugh. Here's the AGM. I should just be able, no. Oh, the trunk fell on my back. You can't see it, but I feel it. The battery is in. It's just, realistically, I shouldn't have to put this negative on. So let's tap this and see what it does. Oh, hey. I don't know if you guys heard that. Yeah, it's running the pump. Okay, so I hear fuel flowing, so let's go check. Let's go check to see if it's actually making its way. Yeah, look at that. Might be a little bit tough to see, but there's fuel in the filter. And I don't smell anything, so we're doing it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use vice grips on here to just hold the negative on the battery, and I'm going to keep an eye on it. All right, so the pump started to sound a little bit weird, so I disconnected it, put the negative on, and turn the key. I want to see what the fuel level is. It's showing about half roughly, but it's slowly going down. but the low fuel light is also on, that yellow dot there. So even though it showed almost full, it might not have been full. Maybe it's from it sitting or whichever. But for fuel level, I mean, we got a fair bit. This is, what, a 25-liter tub? Yeah, 25. We have 18, 20 liters. And it is smelling pretty varnishy. So I'll give that a minute to marinate over there. And I'll give this a minute. The levels slowly going down. So it's possible that the pump was a little bit protesting because it was cavitating. And it might actually be empty. All right, so I gave the car 15 years. And by 15 years, holy shit, there's a wasp. Oh, it wants the fuel. You see that? It's attracted to the fuel for some reason. How am I gonna get in the vehicle to see the level? All right, he's sucking on some dirt. Oh, no, he actually hit the mud flap and hit the ground. I think he's a little bit dizzy. No, he's been, oh, you mother. All right, let's see the level. Yeah, it's at an 1/8. I think that's all she wrote. So the one thing to keep in mind is the pump side is probably bone dry, and then the side that has the level, because a lot of them are saddlebag or a saddle style fuel tank. I'm assuming that's why it still shows an 1/8, which is fine. I'm gonna put 25 liters of fresh stuff in. It'll mix it up. Maybe I'll give it a little of some ethanol or something. But the fuel that came out is before we ended up having ethanol in the, well, actually, I think all the fuel that we have now. The Shell, the Esso, Petro, I think it was stored on Husky 94. So that, for those of you in Calgary, let alone Alberta, will know how long ago that was. Maybe I'll give it a liter of ethanol as a bit of a cleaner and an octane booster and drive it nice for 25K. I'm gonna give the engine a once over, make sure it's good, and a fucking wasp bastard just went in the X5. He just flew up and around and he went in the sun visor or in the moonroof panel, whatever the tipping, those things. Next step, I'm gonna rip out the battery again. I'm gonna charge it. We'll see if it fires up. There's no reason it shouldn't fire up, but I wanna make sure that it builds oil pressure because the motor is very loose tolerance. I want it to build oil pressure and oil get to the head before I fire it. Let's do one of these, and I don't know. No more rod knock jokes. I'll tell you a rod knock story afterwards. Not right this second. Tried to pull the Subaru back because it's a little bit close to the wall. Turns out I needed to run and get my good old Milwaukee tire inflator because tire's flat. Totally can't wait to see how flat spotted these tires are. And these are rough to begin with. I think they're Nankang NS2R 120 on mismatched Enki RPF1 wheels with OZ Ultra Legers in the front. I'm not sure why it keeps reading 35 PSI when it's 5.5 PSI, but okay. Yeah, it keeps going up to 35, 46. All right, we're gonna stop that. See, it's weird, it shows 25, but as soon as I inflate, 43, but then it's actually 26. I have put a strategic 4x4 there. Let's see if it'll actually roll now. Sort of. I hope that 4x4 stops it. Go, go, go. Okay. It's just about to go, so I'm gonna jump all over the brake. Oh! Are we good? I never doubted it. All right, next plan of attack. Let's get some fuel in it. So we're putting about 10 liters in for now. We're gonna give it a little sip of seafoam. All right, don't spill. For some reason, I always have bad luck with jerry cans. This would be a shitty time to forget if this was actually fuel or diesel. Okay, I'm trying to think what's next. It'd be a good idea to confirm it has oil. Now, for whatever reason, I know this is a pain in the ass, or at least remember it was a pain in the ass to check the oil level, but I also know I used to overfill it a bit. Yeah, so it's about a ½ liter overfilled. Everything else in the engine bay should have stayed the same. Now, this was built over 10 years ago, so it does look like a bit of a mess, but I got it to work as is for the time. I do plan to clean it up, especially since I put the recent catch cans in. So bear with me, it's not super ideal, but I'll deal with it. So I think what we're gonna do, I'm gonna do it off camera because you guys have already seen me do it. I'm gonna whip the interior back in, I'm gonna throw the battery in, and it's time to crank it. I'm gonna pull the fuel relay fuse out, crank it to build oil pressure until the oil pressure light goes off, and then we'll start it. I'm one of those apparent posers. I have an STI key, but it's very evidently a WRX. Just ignore the STI there too. I don't need to hold the clutch anymore. I bypassed it because I don't want it to crank walk. We'll crank. I mean, it sounds okay. On my SARD gauges, it looks like there may be 1 bar of oil pressure, which that thing kind of jumps around, so I don't fully believe. So I'll crank it again. And the starter is pissed. The light went off. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. The starter looks like it's sticking a bit, which isn't good. But the oil can is gone, which means we have oil pressure. And it's bled off from 2 down to 1. So let's try it one more time. You can hear it stick. Oil can is gone. Yeah, so we hit 4 bar, 3, 2. So we put the fuse back in. It's a moment of truth. We'll fire it. Here goes nothing. That's not a good sign. Usually this thing always starts. What could be going on? I wonder if something is plugged up or if it doesn't have the fuel quite yet. So a buddy of mine said if the injectors stay without fuel, they could lock up. So what I'm gonna try to do is, because I can reach them, let's give them a couple love taps. I don't know if this is gonna work, but it's the only idea I have right now. All right, round 4. Has a flashing check engine light. Okay, I'm gonna have to film the rest with my phone. Found a problem. Found one problem. I don't know if it's gonna show right there. We have an injector seal that decided to blow out. So I wiggled it. We'll see if it's literally just a dry spot. So I'm gonna try and start it and then take a peek at that real quick. Started on 3. It's not good. It's misfiring pretty bad. Well, you can see I got the 1 Series in the garage. The long story short, Subaru, we got it started. It was on 3. When it was idling, I went around, I started to smack the injectors a bit, and it sounded like it started to come around, but it was still leaking fuel. So I went to back it out of the garage. And as soon as I went to back it out of the garage, a car was coming, so I tried to turn, and sure enough, the steering wheel locked up. So I'm pretty sure the power steering pump locked up. And yeah, we got it out of the garage. Now I'm just waiting for AMA. I mean, it looks good, so all I really did is filled the tires and put it on a downward slope. I'll wait for the tow truck. I don't think a BMW would have done this. RX-7 started. We'll get it on the tow truck, we'll get it home. I'll see if I have to take the injectors out to get them serviced. At least change the O-rings, figure out the power steering. When I was pulling it out of the garage, I ended up ripping the bumper off. You can't see it, I'm not getting up. It's on the driver's side, I ripped the whole corner off. Yeah, good times. All right, quick update. My phone's at 7%. It's been 3 hours waiting for AMA. Now the car won't turn on. So I need to put the key in at some point, push it onto the road over there, so I'm not in a dark alley late at night because it's getting dark. So I'm gonna give a walk, push it there, and see what happens. After that somewhat of a disaster of an evening, or day we'll call it, the car is finally in the garage, and I have a somewhat plan of attack. Now you guys remember the power steering, or at least I was telling you the power steering was kind of shit in the bed. This hose here, if it shows up, I don't know if it will. It looks like the hose kind of kinks and it's starting to sweat power steering fluid. So my guess is that this hose itself is starting to break down, and as a result, the fluid level is now low and it's pouring everywhere. So what I think happened is the power steering pump itself cavitated, and that's why when I went to go turn the steering wheel, there was a ton of resistance, and at one point it actually stalled the engine. That's when this happened, which was great, because I was turning in the process and the wheel caught and ripped the corner of the bumper off. Yeah, rookie things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this reservoir out. I'm going to measure the hose, and what I think I'm going to do is, because it has that kink in it, I have multiple different flavors, there's just 2 here, of 90-degree brass fittings. So the idea is I'm going to take a 90-degree brass fitting, so a piece of hose in between to avoid that sharp 90 that's kinking the hose, and it's going to have a loop up end to the power steering pump. Instead of that hose, which I think is, I can't remember, it might have been a fuel hose or something, obviously it doesn't hold up, so I do have some silicone and or hydraulic hose, whether it's black or red or whatever. I'm going to chop it up, I'm going to get this sorted, I'm going to put fluid in the reservoir, and I'm going to bleed it. The way to bleed this, especially when it's cavitated like this so you don't kill a pump, we fill the fluid, you have to lift the front tires off the ground, and then you turn the steering wheel left to right multiple times, and that ends up bleeding the rack. What I don't want to do is I don't want to damage the rack to where it blows a seal, scores, or has issues down the road. So I'm going to get to this, we're going to bleed it, and I'm crossing my fingers that at least the power steering issue is sorted. After that, if all is well, the injectors did seem like they were coming around, and it does seem to start and run okay right now after tapping on the injectors. However, at some point I had bought this, and I don't remember when, but I actually have an injector cleaner flow tester, along with the drill press that I bought at some point. I'll pull the injectors out, I'm gonna mark them, chuck them back in, I'll see if I need to pull the plugs. Plugs are new, I don't think it's an issue. And I don't think it was flooding, I think it was a matter of the injectors were just sticking. So I'm gonna try and set you guys up somewhere and get started. We have it all cleaned up. Now, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so all I really did was take a 10 mil off there, I rotated it, similar to where the OEM would be, but because this isn't a pre-bent molded hose, it goes up through the factory clip, or what I assume is the factory clip, up and over. So it does end up getting a little bit of a tighter radius, but it's not collapsing, so it's just oval. I filled it up to the level, and for here, it's just enough so that the wheels are off the ground. So now, well, let me put that here so I don't trip on it. Now what you do, you get inside, and because the steering is going to be locked, we put the key in. You can turn the ignition on, doesn't matter. And we're going to go left to right 4 times. And you do this with the wheels off the ground, so there's no resistance. And this is how you properly bleed your rack. Because it's really bad, maybe I'll go 5 or 6 times. Now typically when it's running, you don't want to go all the way lock to lock, because that does stress the pump even though it has a relief valve. Okay, we're going to leave it there. We're going to shut it off for now. And let's go check the level. It should have gone down, and we might need to fill it. Oh yeah, see? It's way past minimum. Some of you might have been wondering what I put in there. Now, because I'm a big fan of seafoam, where is it? I used this stuff. It's just a trans tune, but it's also for power steering fluid. It's just a reconditioner, helps weaker tired pumps. I don't know whether it gives it lubricity or whatever it is. I had some, threw it in. It's worked in the past, so why not? Top it up, let's see what happens. All right, ladies, and there's no ladies watching. It's just gents, like 3 of them. Bled it again, level didn't get any lower, but I did top it up. So I'm gonna fire it up and we'll see. It fired up right away, but my oil pressure gauge is showing 0. Screw it up somehow? Oh my Lord. Yeah, it's not even anything. So the oil can's gone. She's smoking. Yeah, a little bit weird when I do that, but I'm trying to get a whiff of what it is. It smells like a little bit of oil and fuel. I wonder where the oil pressure gauge stopped working. Oh, wait, what? Huh? What? Off. Parking lights? And it's on? I think I need to do some rewiring. Anyways, we're here for a reason. You know, the power steering is so quiet. Oh my God. This is awesome. Okay, maybe I'll get it up to temp and I'm gonna take a peek at the injectors quick. Not leaking. I see some smoke. I don't smell anything. Just all really dirty. I wonder if the seals were just a little bit dry. I'm not gonna rev it crazy. It's still cold and it's a forged motor. All right. So the injectors are out. It was a bit of a journey, I guess we'll call it, to get the driver's side ones out. It wasn't all that bad. I just kind of realized I'm not working on a BMW, so how bad could it be? Knock on wood. As luck would have it, my injector cleaner was showing off here. It's missing the standoffs for the injector to bolt to the rail. Now what that means is I can't use the injector cleaner. I can use the hydrosonic part or the ultrasonic part or the ZZ machine, I think the guy calls it, but there's not going to be much of a point. I pulled the injectors out. You can see 1, 2, 3, and 4. I did get some seals from GB. Now with these seals, it has 3 pieces in it. Washer, the base, and the O-ring. Now that being said, the ones that came out of the car right here really aren't too bad, but it was a matter of while I'm in there, so I'm fairly certain that the issue here is from my friend way back when. If you can see it, he doubled up on the O-rings because once upon a time I did have a leaking issue, and this will not do. So I'll rip those O-rings off. I have a bunch of Viton, nitrile, whatever O-rings that I'm going to use. Potentially I'm going to try and use the factory stuff, but what I would like to do is put a thicker O-ring, so it's going to be a little tighter in the bore of the fuel rail, because these ones it slip right off. So without a doubt, I was glad I didn't end up driving it further, but plan of attack, we're going to change the O-rings, and a bit of a getaway is I'm going to use one of these kits. So what this does is on the back side you use an aerosol can. So I'm going to use a can of seafoam, and on this side you put it on the back of the injector and it connects to a machine that'll send a current through it. So you hook it up to a battery, you hold down the trigger on the aerosol can, it'll spray through here and it'll cycle the injector. Now this is a bit of a fire hazard and a little bit ghetto, so let's see what a $20 machine does, but why not try it? Once upon a time, somebody said it's not fun unless it's dangerous. So I'm going to show you what I got rigged up here. Again, injectors. I have the Mr. Car Tool set up to a battery. The lead, apparently it does 2 injectors at a time. The lead to the injector on a can of Seafoam for top engine cleaner. I poked a hole in the water bottle, and I think as soon as I put this on here, something's gonna happen. Okay, so negative on. Now it's giving us short, medium, long, and continuous with voltage. So I'm guessing 12 volt. Start and stop. So I will test fire the injector. Yep, if you can hear it. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it to continuous. Now I'm gonna hold start and stop with one hand as I press down on here with the other and see if it works. Whoa, it's working! But it's pissing everywhere. So it is a fire hazard, but there's that. I'm gonna tidy up and get to the other one. Okay, injector 2. Okay, it's impossible to not make a mess with this. I mean, this is probably not the best way, but when you don't have any other options, it's the way. Okay, that was shit. Don't use that. But the injectors are cleaned. They're not sticking. I have confidence in them. I don't have any confidence in that little machine. It made a mess. I'm gonna throw the seals on. I'm gonna throw it back into the car, start it up, and hope it sounds good. As you can see, we did change it up just a hair for the hoses. Now, bear in mind, it's very difficult to make a Subaru look good. This is one of the crankcase vent hoses. Same for this chunky boy here. This one here, if you look underneath, it has a plastic T. This is for each cylinder head, and I know this is not ideal, but it's what I had for now. So those run to a Honda style catch can, and yeah, so it works. The filter isn't ideal. It looks like it was initially rubbing, so a couple of the pleats were crushed. And by crushed, I mean, you could see where they kind of flattened out. So what I did is I just kind of, I don't know, took pliers, crimped them closed. It'll be fine for now, but I'm gonna wash it or get a bigger filter. And yeah, so moment of truth, we're gonna jump inside the vehicle. We're gonna prime it a couple of times. We're gonna look for leaks and then fire it. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. I just heard my back crack pretty bad. Oh, it has turbo timer. So that's 1, that's 2. You can see when I turn the key off, the turbo timer goes. Old school stuff. And then 3rd time. Okay, I'm gonna turn the ignition off. Now if we're looking right down here, I hope it shows up on the camera. So we're at about 40 PSI of base pressure, and it hasn't gone down. So that one's okay. It's right about there. That one's okay. Looks okay. And the one in the back looks okay. All right. Doesn't appear to be any leaks. It's a little bit cold. I don't like starting this motor when it's a bit cold out. I guess it is 14, so it's not so bad. Let's fire it. Now again, I disabled the clutch, or having to press the clutch in, because I do have a 6-puck sprung clutch. But what I don't want is any damage to occur on, I think the thrust, or essentially like a crank walk. So we're not going to do that. Fired right away. So we're gonna roll the window down. We're gonna let it get up to temp, and while it's running with the vacuum source, we're just gonna give it another once over. Yep. 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 I'll get it up to temp. I can smell just whatever I was touching and spilled fuel and whatever else. So far, so good. The Subaru we're taking for a quick drive just to see how it is. I did end up taking it to the car wash, and there was a little bit of smoke, but it looked like it was coming from the heat shield for the turbo blanket, which is weird because it had already baked in many years ago. And yeah, it's subsided, but this is my 2002 Subaru WRX with a 2.6 liter stroker motor. I'm not going to get into the finer details because we'll be here for a year and a half. Long story short, it's got the stroker motor, GT3582R turbo, rotated of course. It has the 6-speed out of GDB spec C-type RA. I can't remember. It's that whole plethora of words and letters. So it does have the magnetic center diff with SureTrack front and rear LSD. To complement that, since these never had DC CD, I used a DC CD Pro controller. I believe it's the Spider controller with the autocross calibration. So it has a mercury ball just inside. I can set it to auto. I can have it full rear wheel. I can have it 50-50, press the button, LED goes solid. I can have it locked right up. So center diff locks up, and then front and rear SureTrack LSD. I won't get stuck out of anywhere, or I won't get stuck in anything and get out of everywhere. Another nice thing is, being that it has the mercury ball, when you're on level surface, you calibrate it, and then depending on braking, acceleration, and the pitch of the vehicle, it will determine how much power it needs to send to what corner. So it's actually pretty amazing for what it is. We're just taking it out for a shakedown, so getting rid of some old fuel, make sure the turbo still works, and wastegate opens. It makes all the right noises. Yeah, it's not so bad for 215 winter tires. Well, there you have it. That's my WRX Bug-Eye. Of course, there's a lot more done to it. It has a long laundry list of things that I could sit and explain to you for a good old half hour or so, but it's definitely nice that it's up and running again. It didn't take a whole lot. I think it looks pretty good, especially with the proper gold BBSs in the 5x100 bolt pattern. It'll do its job for this winter. I think it's going to be a fun vehicle, and I get to test the good old all-wheel drive system in this particular WRX. Like I mentioned, it's going to be pretty good. It has a proper 6-speed with a proper center diff and 2 proper LSDs. So center, front, rear. I think it's going to be pretty good. I'll probably change the fluids off camera. If you guys want to see more of this car, let me know down in the comments. As always, feel free to like and subscribe. See you guys on the next one.
Bye. Have a good time.
He said bye. Have a good time. Go! Oh, apparently anti-lag works.
Yeah, clearly. You got that truck alongside it.